So overall, episode 11 of season 2 of Princess Connect is probably one of, if not the craziest fight, that then ends up becoming an even crazier fight by the time it actually wraps up. I think it is such a great bait and switch and like escalation, de-escalation to apocalypse within that like last stretch there, because you are basically going up against a giant powerful Slash against a giant powerful Shield that can more than likely stop said Slash. And if not, I mean, ultimately it's either kill or be killed. And then to have said Shield on your side and you're able to take out this phony, this fake, who they did such a great job in this episode of showcasing an even more twisted, gross side to not even a person, a creature, a shadow. And to see these faces throughout the fight and then to see it just beg for life like, no, I can't die. What is death? I'm a shadow. And then the true big boss comes in and you take that powerful defense, that powerful offense, and within a second, you slam down with a gravity-type magic and you're like, yeah, you're going to be sacrifices to me. And then, of course, the real MC comes in, Yuki, and it will be interesting because they gave a key in this episode to Kokoro. And apparently that key will stop him from essentially destroying himself, right? Because as we saw with last week's episode when he started passing out, it looked like he was using up a bit too much energy, and it seems like he would basically give up his life for any one of his friends or allies and things like that. What I find interesting is, it very much feels like we're building up to one of two things happening. Either A, another reset, similar to what's happened before, or we're going to succeed. And if we succeed, the big question I think people have is, would there be a season 3 at that point? Because what we're currently seeing, should they actually succeed at putting Peko on the throne, things like that, the main story hook could be considered over. But we also can look at season 1 and even a good chunk of season 2. This show can just be comfy adventures. It can be episodic adventures, it can be cooking episodes, it can be goddamn slice of life episodes where nothing happens. And it's amazing. So it doesn't really matter, in my opinion, if they do conclude what is essentially seen as the main story in next week's episode. There still very well could be more, and if not, what better way to go out than what we're seeing here? But I ain't gonna lie, there's a part of me that's worried something very, very bad could happen next week, and if so, that will be interesting, to say the least. But I have to give major props to the escalation in quality that the animation has seen in the second season. I mean, going back to the Golem fight, some of the best things we've seen this season in terms of pure Sakuga. But it's not just like it was a one-hit wonder. There was one episode that was blowing me away. Like, every episode has had something pure passion poured into it. And to see this episode from Crazy versus Crazy, I've never seen two people more in love than the idea of I'm going to stab your eye socket or I'm going to put an axe through your skull. The idea of Psycho Yandere's just going all at it was amazing, frightening, hilarious, and honestly best romance right there, it kind of felt like. To then just the overall craziness of the princess strikes and everything like that. It just felt like if you were to show any real big moment of the action to someone who didn't watch the episode yet or actually didn't watch Princess Connect Season 2 in general, they're probably going to think, they don't have that type of animation every single fight. But they really do. It just doesn't dip in quality. I never cease to be amazed by what Cygames and everything like that can do with their projects and how much time they really do give them. It's never overcooked, it's never undercooked. It's always just that right temperature. And just watching this animation gold, this quality, it was incredible because there's so many things I love about the style to this show. One of my favorite comedic bits is the background comedy. Half the time when you have the two best bros here, they're saying shit in the background and you can kind of hear what they're saying, but mostly they're being ignored because more important shit's happening in the foreground. And just seeing the number of times the close calls in this episode. I mean, honestly, the characters have 9 lives. They're honestly cats at this point, but I did love the kind of bait and switch they did where you had the guild leader in this moment come in and, badass, big boss, And you have not only ultimate defense, you have ultimate offense, and then she realizes that they were actually just trying to free the real body there, and I thought that was pretty brilliant. I know there's people thinking, what seemed to be a character death isn't a character death, as seen by the body kind of being stored and the tease last week of being almost controlled. It's very hard to say, to be honest, because what is death is something that's kind of up in the air. It kind of feels to me like her powers being harnessed and like basically is a puppet. Like what we saw last week, there was a taste of it. Could very well have been a shadow and the real body is just being stored as basically a way to harness the power. Could they bring her back? Of course, but right now I'm kind of feeling like, maybe she is officially gone for the count, but at the same time, it does feel like they're alluding to bringing her back if they free her from that kind of like weird plant prison thing that was kind of harnessing her, but I guess we'll see, right? Because with all the shadows and shit that's been going on in this show, it's really hard to say what's real or fake anymore with what we see. I mean, sometimes it's easy. We know Yuki's standing there, but at the same time, you never know what could happen in the following episode. I will say, though, watching season 2 in a weekly format, right, after binging season 1 to get caught up so I could cover season 2, right, it's interesting to see the difference of how you appreciate a show like Princess Connect, right? Because even though season 1 was mostly comfy in terms of just like, it was almost like the beginning of season 2 in a lot of ways. I like the idea that this show, you never quite know when drama's going to hit, and when drama does hit, I kind of find the weekly experience makes it a bit more satisfying because you get to sit on it, you get to fester, you get to contemplate what is death, what characters are going to make it, what is the sacrifice that's going to have to pop up. Versus a binge where you immediately go into that next episode and things are going to be resolved, right? If there is drama, you're not going to have to sit on it. It's almost like watching a show like Breaking Bad. As much as I love binging that show, at the same time, if you only watch a couple of episodes at a time, I find you appreciate that show a bit more. And as comfy as Princess Connect has become, I mean, it has its well-done serious moments. And honestly, the last home stretch here, the last month of the show, watching it in a weekly format, I think, is the optimal experience. I think anyone who I recommend to watch this show, I'm going to say, like, once things get more into the plot, maybe kind of pace yourself. Don't binge it all in one go, because you're just going to appreciate the character moments and the struggles a lot more than if shit gets resolved within a hour-long stretch, so to speak, right? I mean, of course, this show, it never disappoints. It's amazing. It's quality. The characters across the board. I'm glad that it wasn't just like Yuki and Peko and things like that. I'm glad that the characters that, especially in season 2, that we come to know and love, were actually kind of having their own little adventures in this episode and fighting for freedom, so to speak. Great shit across the board. It will be interesting to see where the last episode of season 2, we're already there, is going to go. And if they're going to conclude what seems to be the main story, or if there's going to be a season 3 sequel bait that's going to tell us that the story is just getting started. Either way, I do think we'll see a season 3 one way or another. It's just a matter of would it be serious or would it be comfy. But let me know your thoughts, feelings down below. Favorite moment if you have any. Leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. Until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.